Hey everyone, All Access is back, better than ever, and ready for spring sports. I'm Derek Hill.
And I'm Jeremy Lightfinger. Hey Derek, do you know what else comes with spring?
Too much rain.
No, bees.
Oh.
And we're certainly busy bees around here. We have some surprises in store for you today.
So without further ado, let's get right into it. Last Friday, the Rowan Division II ice hockey team traveled to Penn State to face the Ice Lions. Halfway through the first period, no score. Joseph D'Elia's slap shot trickles past A.J. Colella as Matt Wickman flicks it in for the early Ice Lions lead. Rowan would answer quickly. 2-on-1, Thurston shown to Anthony Delarose for the beauty shot. And we have a tie game in the first period. Early second period, Sam Ahern hits the tricky shot from the corner, giving the Profs the lead. Later on in the second, A.J. Colella putting in effort in the net for the Profs, but the Ice Lions would score courtesy of Brendan Horgas, and the Ice Lions would hold on for the 6-4 victory over the Profs.
The team then hosted the 4-13 United States Naval Academy the next day, looking to bounce back from the Penn State loss the prior evening. Early in the second period, Bobby Penrod, working across the middle, zips one past the right stick hand of the midshipman goalie to widen their lead to 2. Jump to the third period. Alex Ahern's shot deflected but sent in from short range by Jack Kelly. Teammates embrace him in celebration as the Profs take a 3-1 lead. Later on in the third, Profs with a big advantage. Ryan Echeverria dekes but misses the initial try, but Penrod is there to clean up the mess, putting the midshipmen away 7-1. So Derek, despite the loss to Penn State on Friday, the Profs finished the regular season on a pretty high note, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they certainly do. They opened up this kind of second half of the season really after winter break. 2 losses at Liberty, but then they only dropped the one game at Penn State, 2-3 to, well, actually 2-1 if you're doing hockey terms. There's the loss in overtime to Liberty, but pretty solid start, and now they're playing Stevenson today, first game of the MAC tournament. Jeremy, how do you see them playing in this MAC? I know, because Liberty and Penn State are in there. It's tough matchups possibly on the horizon.
I think it just comes down to luck. I feel like Penn State has had their number, the last couple matchups. If they can avoid Penn State, I feel like they can go pretty deep in the MAC tournament. But like you said, 2-1 the last couple games. It all comes down to how they start the game. If they start the game strong, playing good defense, aggressive on offense, I think they'll be fine. But it just matters how they perform after the opening tip.
For sure, and it's because of that 17-3-1 record that they already clinched a spot at regionals. They have the 5 seed. They're going to be playing Ohio State, and that's the first time since, well, I've been at this school. I'm not even sure the last time they had a chance to go to regionals, because as a club sport, they were really more focused on just going out there, playing, having fun. But this new coach, Dan DeMonte, he seems to have his team in high gear, wouldn't you say?
He does. It seems like he instilled, a new mindset into the team that we hadn't seen before. They're playing much more aggressive than years prior, and hopefully they can carry that aggression into the playoffs.
Yeah, hopefully a couple wins at regionals will get them a spot at nationals, because I know I would love to go to the nationals and cover that team for them.
That'd be so cool.
They're a lot of fun to watch this year, for sure. So now Dean Simon joins us with a look into our Philly sports teams. Dean?
Thanks, Derek. The Eagles' defense has been the Achilles heel of the team since defeating the New England Patriots in 2018 for their first Lombardi trophy. Specifically, depth. Just when the team looked like they were ready to take over the league, piece after piece, the team's puzzle was dismantled, thrusting players into the lineup with a limited number of snaps and allowing offenses to exploit these weaknesses. This could be attributed to the medical staff, who recently cleaned out house and hired 3 new faces: Tom Hunkley, Director of Sports Medicine; Ted Rath, Director of Sports Performance; Jeremiah Washburn, Director of Player Personnel, also Senior Defensive Assistant. While these changes look great on paper, it's a two-way street, and players should take some accountability for underperforming. Now with the Phillies, pitchers and catchers reported to Clearwater, Florida for spring training this week. Girardi's message to the clubhouse is simple: forget about last year's collapse, because this team is new. Compared to ex-manager Gabe Kapler, he wants his pitchers to be fresh for the playoffs and not give away games early in the stretch. A bold statement by a championship-hungry coach. Now for the Sixers are off the schedule until after the All-Star break, but let's talk about their last performance versus the Los Angeles Clippers at home, a place where the Sixers are an NBA best 25 wins and 2 losses. Welcome back. But on the road, that's another story. The Philadelphia 76ers defeated Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers 110-103. Ben Simmons had a triple-double. Embiid tied Simmons with 26 points. Horford played well off the bench, and Josh Richardson had 21 points on the night. A well-rounded performance, but let's see if the road woes can fix themselves. For the Flyers scored 3 unanswered goals in the first period and set the tempo versus the Florida Panthers. They would add 3 more goals, and the Panthers would respond with 2 of their own. Final score, 6-2 the Flyers. The Flyers will look to keep this hot streak alive in Florida when they travel to nearby Tampa Bay Lightning on Saturday, who is caught lightning in a bottle, winning their last 9 contests.
Thank you so much, Dean, for that. A lot of great stuff. I want to start out by talking about the Eagles. You said they brought in a bunch of new, they revamped their medical staff. We've seen in the past where teams have done that kind of thing before, but it hasn't really translated to results, in the new season. Do you think that they will have a big influence on how the players perform for this upcoming season?
I think it absolutely does not hurt, and the Eagles have clearly done their due diligence on all of these new candidates, and I feel like bringing in a new medical staff with all of the injuries last year is the best thing for this team, and I really look forward to seeing what they do.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, they have so much talent too, and it'll be really interesting, hopefully, to see how they do next season, especially with this new medical staff, because I think even for Carson Wentz, it'll definitely help him, because I know that the concussion injury for him was really huge in that first round, and hopefully, it'll help with the whole team.
All right, moving on to the Phillies. Big hiring over the offseason, Joe Girardi. Obviously, he brings in a championship mentality. Won the series against the Phillies in 2009. Do you think that there will be sort of like a radical change in how the players approach the game? Do you think he's going to introduce a new way of thinking? And do you think that'll translate to success this season?
I think it definitely could translate into success, because Girardi has a resume of success, and his very first message to the team was, forget about last year's team. This is a completely new team, and we make our own identity starting with this season. I expect an increase in the number of wins that we get, but playoffs is something that we have to see when the games come around.
Alrighty, moving on to the Sixers now. It's a tale of 2 different teams, honestly. When they're on the road, they lose to the rock bottom teams, but when they're at home, they seem to beat the top tier teams in the East and West. Do you think it's all a mental thing? Do you think whenever they hop on a plane or a bus, something just snaps where they just can't seem to finish out games? Do you think they can solve that by the time the playoffs come around?
Yeah, I think the Sixers lineup is super talented, and between Brett Brown and the way he communicates with his team, I feel like that has a lot to do with it. But I feel like if they could just get out of the mindset, as soon as we get on a plane, we play bad and we get in our heads, then this will be a very tough team to stop in the Eastern Conference, because they clearly take care of business at home. 25-2, they hold the NBA's best home record, and it's really just a mental thing at this point. And if Brett Brown can rally the troops, I feel like they can make a really nice run and make the playoffs.
I agree. Jason, you want to add anything?
Yeah, the one thing I really liked about the Sixers game was that the benching of Al Horford. He still got starter minutes, and you can still put him in as a backup center for Joel Embiid. Or if you want to go big, you can totally put him back into that starting lineup. But without him on the floor, they put in Furkan Korkmaz, and they put him at the small forward. And I feel like for spacing reasons, it's going to help them if they need somebody to shoot the ball. Maybe they could put Matisse Thybulle in, and have him start. Or maybe they'll put in Glenn Robinson III. So they have a lot of options there. And hopefully that will boost them. And I think that with beating the LA Clippers, that was a really big win for them, because they beat one of the top teams in the West. And a lot of people think that them and the LA Lakers are going to go to the Western Conference Finals and face each other. So big win for the Sixers.
Absolutely agree, Jason.
Alrighty. Last thing about the Flyers. Kind of streaky this season. There are stretches when they look amazing. There are stretches when they looked like they're really struggling. Do you think they'll pull it together by the time the playoffs come around, right at the right time?
Jeremy, I absolutely think they will, and it's because of the young Carter Hart. He keeps the team in a lot of very close games, and if they're going to make a playoff push, it really depends on him. James Van Riemsdyk especially has been stepping up on the defense, and I feel like those two, defense wins championships, and it's going to come down to Van Riemsdyk and Carter Hart if the team wants to make a playoff push.
Alrighty. Thanks for the great work, team.
Thank you.
Now let's send it over to Sean Kelly with this week's Pro Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Pro Talk of the season. The Celtics and Clippers put on a show last night as they entertained the Boston crowd with a double overtime finish en route to a 141-133 win for Boston. Coming out on top for the night was forward Jason Tatum, scoring 39 points and grabbing 9 rebounds, ahead of his first All-Star appearance this weekend. Star point guard Kemba Walker said of Tatum, quote, "He was the best player on the court tonight." The crucial win pushes the Celtics to 38-16 on the year, and they have the week break before taking on the Timberwolves next Sunday. As the MLB descends upon Clearwater, Florida this weekend for spring training, businessman and Astros owner Jim Crane addressed the media for the first time after firings of A.J. Hinch and Jeff Lunhow this past January. Crane clearly didn't seem to care about the effect his team's cheating had on the league, stating, quote, "Our opinion is that this game didn't impact the overall league." When asked about this quote 60 seconds later, he stated, "I didn't say it didn't impact the game." Crane's wishy-washy statements continued throughout the interview, where he wrapped up saying he believed he shouldn't be held responsible for the cheating scandal. With Portland star Damian Lillard out for the groin injury, Phoenix star Devin Booker has been named in the place on Team LeBron as well as the three-point contest. The Sun star, who is currently averaging 26 points on the season, is the first All-Star on the Suns since Steve Nash in 2011 and 12, bringing much-needed relief to Suns fans. Booker topped the list of All-Star snubs this year and was openly disappointing, saying the NBA is, quote, "an entertainment, political, and drama-filled league." LeBron James was excited to welcome Booker to the team, tweeting, "Welcome Devin Booker, well deserved." Booker will take the court with the East All-Stars this Sunday. Former NHL star and NBC analyst Jeremy Roenick has officially been released from the company after sexual comments he made about Catherine Tapper and Patrick Sharp last year. Roenick has been on suspension since December following the lewd sexual comments, and as of yesterday has been officially released. The 20-year NHL veteran took to Twitter saying that he's very disappointed and angry about the decision, but claims, "I'll be back better and more motivated to bring you the best entertainment and the best that I have for the game of hockey." Future plans for Roenick remain unknown.
So, Sean, you're jumping around all the positions on All Access
course.
during your time here at the college.
Yes.
Yeah,
I try
for
to
sure.
really get myself into the meat and the nitty-gritty of everything.
Well, now that you're doing professional sports, we're going to turn to our basketball analyst.
Yes.
Because he has a very important question for you.
Please ask me.
Sean, I know you love basketball. I want to ask you about Jason Tatum. We hadn't really seen a performance like he did last night, 39 points, really carried the team in a huge playoff-esque kind of game. We hadn't seen that from him before. He kind of was like a low 20-point scorer guy. Do you think he makes the jump to superstar status because of this game?
I think we need another game in that realm a little bit before, and I think it's disappointing because I think people wrote him off, not wrote him off, but kind of put him to the backseat of Kemba Walker. Because when Kemba got signed, everybody's like, Kemba. He came off those 50, 60-point games last year. And I think now that you have the time and Jason Tatum had this game, I think all eyes are going to be on him now. I think this gives him the opportunity. I would love to see maybe another 40 or a 45-point game, and I'm going to say, yeah, all right, this is where we elevate him, second All-Star appearance next year. I think give it another year, and he's going to be up there with the likes of Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, I think, if he gets that good.
What if he drops 40 in the All-Star game?
If he drops 40 in the All-Star game, while I do believe that the All-Star game isn't the best look or the best test of actual talent.
Yeah, it's a joke.
It's a joke. But I think that is still a statement, and you're up against the best players in the NBA. So, yeah, I think that would elevate it.
So now moving on to baseball. So Jim Crane's a liar, right?
No, Jim Crane's a liar. And this is I was telling you earlier, I'm not a super huge basketball fan. It's not my main sport.
Baseball.
But, yeah, baseball. Basketball is my main sport. Thank you. I was even offended by it, and I don't look into baseball that much. I listened to this when it came out yesterday, and I was like, wow. I was like, how do you go on national television or in a national press conference and blatantly say that?
You immediately lose points just talking about the whole team in general when you come out and you read structured apologies off of a piece of paper.
Yeah.
They didn't even take the time to practice them beforehand to know what
Exactly.
they were saying, and it just sounded completely sarcastic.
Oh, it was terrible. And then he went back and said the exact opposite 60 seconds later. He's just obviously trying to, play damage control here, and it's not working.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you think, the MLB fan base is sort of taking a step back from, the likes of the NFL and the NBA? Do you think this affects it? Do you think less people are going to tune into baseball now that they know this huge cheating scandal? It kind of goes on.
Yeah,
And there might be other teams.
I think it slightly does. I know people who are fans or diehard fans will stick with this league forever.
Oh yeah, of course.
But no, I think to the people that are new, that can probably oh wow, this happens. Is it this easy? It's really surprising. I think you might see a little dip, but nothing too major.
I agree. Moving on back to basketball. Good news for Devin Booker, gets in. Unfortunately not, as a reserve or anything, had to be because of an injury. But he's kind of been, he's pretty much at the superstar level for the last couple seasons, but because of the fact that he's on a subpar team in Phoenix, he hasn't really gotten the recognition he's deserved.
Yeah.
Do you think if this, the Phoenix Suns performances keep up, do you think he requests a trade? Do you think he tries to leave Phoenix at some point?
It's tough because you saw in the beginning of the season when the Suns actually played very well, and there was a legitimate thought where everybody thought if they keep this up, they're going to be a threat for a playoff run. That was the thing in the first 2 weeks of the season. Now, that was a long time ago. But 26 points per game, you really that is superstar level. That is all-star level. I think, this team is going to end without a playoff run this year. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think he doesn't have it at the end of the year, I think, right out the bat to request a trade. I feel like if he does it again, and this is his best season yet, so if he does it again, I feel like, hey, it's trade time, it's request time. But he's done it, so, and he doesn't seem like he wants to leave. That team, I feel like, has a lot of untapped potential, is waiting to burst out. And I would not be surprised if you see the Suns try to make it in the playoff picture in the next year or two.
I always find it funny when the Suns, the Suns as an example, the first 2 weeks of the season, people always overreact. And it always reminds me of the Sixers a couple years ago when they started 3-0.
Yep.
It was like, we're getting the championship this year,
yeah.
and then they lost 21 straight, I think it was. So,
Good times.
Thanks very much for joining us, Sean.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, moving on, the men's basketball team hosted Montclair State University on Saturday. Early in the first half, Profs down 5. Jerry Price makes an impressive driving layup to spark the offense. Matt Green says, I want what he's having, getting a nice driving layup of his own to tie the game at 19. Second half now, Jerry Price is at it again, bobbing, weaving, doing any verb you can think of through the Red Hawks defense. Rice would finish with a team-high 25 points. Couple minutes later, Profs looking to get a big lead for the first time in the game. Austin Kearney hitting a three-pointer and then hitting the floor with a James Harden celebration. Kearney would then ice the game later on with a nice assist from Damian Smith. The Profs take the victory at SB 94-86.
The women's basketball team also hosted the Red Hawks on Saturday. Early in the first, forward Eliana Santana showing off her prowess in the mid-range with a silky step-back jumper to put the Profs up 2. Highlight play of the night, Grace Marshall threading the needle with a gorgeous one-handed bounce pass between the defender's legs to Nicole Mallard for the easy deuce. Jump to the fourth. Red Hogs in command late in the game. That is until center Ayanna Johnson absolutely stuffs Kayla Bush at the rim. Tie game. 5 seconds left. Inbound to Santana, who finds a wide-open Mallard for a buzzer-beater layup to seal the come-from-behind victory for the Profs. They improve their record to 19-3 as the playoffs draw ever closer.
Well, really good week for both of the basketball teams. Couple wins, I think. Well, the women's team is just destroying with a 20-3 record.
Yeah, that record's
14-2 in the NJAC. They're definitely going to make the NCAA tournament for Division III.
For sure.
How do you see? Do you think their expectations might be too high, or do you think they're just going to blow out the competition here?
I feel like they need to know that their success up to this point, it's not going to be a guarantee that they're going to perform well in the NCAA tournament because only the best of the best make that tournament, and they're going to realize that. And I hope they come in with that mindset so that they're not too cocky, or because cockiness causes turnovers, and turnovers lead to losses. So they just need to keep that in mind.
And the tournament is a one and done for a reason, because even those teams that on paper they look like they might not beat them, Rowan might end up having an off day and then they're completely out of playoff contention. But for the men's team, struggling a little bit this year. They're 12-11, but they do have 3 straight wins, which puts them over 500. 2 games left in the regular season. Rutgers, Newark, and Kane University. Do you think they're able to push through, get a couple more wins, and try and get into this tournament as well?
I feel like they're peaking at the right time. They did overcome some adversity at the beginning of the season, but it's good that they're on a streak, and hopefully they can ride that into the playoffs, and hopefully they can go pretty deep.
Awesome. Well, that's the show.
Alrighty.
That was a fun one, certainly, right, Jerry?
It was. First time on the desks, it's a little bit of nerves.
Well, you
but
filled
I
in
feel
a couple of times, but now this is the
I
position
did.
for
That's
you.
the real deal now.
A bunch of people moving around All Access. Well, that's all we have for this week's episode. For Jeremy Lightfinger, I'm Derek Hill, as well for Dean Seidman, Jason Joseph, Sean Kelly, and the rest of the All Access crew. Have a good week, Profs.